Oracle's Performance Management Cloud Service, along with Oracle's Goal Management Cloud Service, are both combined to allow you to set and track goals, share, align, and collaborate on goals with others, reward for performance based on goal achievement, as well as more effectively manage the evaluation process throughout your entire workforce. If you remember the profiles that we discussed at the beginning of my demonstration, we showcase the information that allows you to capture skills and qualifications. That information will be the basis for your evaluation templates. That is, if you want to have unique evaluation templates for every role that you have within your organization. I think it's important that you make sure that any evaluation that you present to your employees is specific and germane to what they need to know how to do to be successful in their roles. So in this instance, I'm going to be sharing with you an evaluation template that is based upon the role and responsibilities required for Brian Joseph, who is now the Director of Payroll. I'm going to log into the system as Brian Joseph and show you the experience of an evaluation from his experience as an employee. So here is Brian Joseph's homepage. On the Me portion of his portal, he will go to Career and Performance. Let me select that now. You may remember earlier that I went to Skills and Qualifications for Brian initially when I discussed with you profile management. Let me just briefly go here now. This is the spider diagram that shows you the competencies and qualifications that he needs to have for his role and the expected target level of proficiency required for that job. This can become the basis of the job evaluation template. Now we're talking about performance reviews. Here, if I go to the Performance tile, I can see all of the evaluations and documents that are currently in progress for Brian to evaluate his performance within his role. We have a feature here known as a check-in. And what is that about? A check-in allows you to document a conversation that you would like to have with your manager to make sure, hey, how are things going? Am I being effective in my job? Is there anything that you would like for me to be doing differently? What do I need to be working on in order to make sure that during the annual evaluation process, I receive the highest scores possible? Am I on track? So in other words, this is simply a configurable template that you're going to be able to use to allow employees to ask questions, to allow managers to ask questions. And they're going to collaborate between themselves as employees and their managers to make sure that everything is okay. So in this example, you're able to see that this check-in document is going to support the 2018 annual cycle. You're also able to see that Brian's manager is Robert Jackman. So this is with whom I'm going to be having this conversation. In this template, we have set up certain questions for Brian to answer about his performance, such as, what support do you need to progress on your priorities? Are there any significant activities since the last check-in that we need to be aware of? If he needs to make changes, he simply selects Edit, makes the changes that he needs to make, and he can go ahead and save. Once he creates the check-in document, Robert Jackman, his manager, will receive a notification. There has been a check-in document created for you. Go ahead and access that document and provide your feedback. Here I can see the questions that Robert is going to answer once he receives that notification. Optionally, you can decide to include performance goals. Also optionally, you can decide to include development goals and any other general topics that may be of interest at this time. So for example, Brian is interested in networking, so he thought he might add in a note so that Brian can have this conversation with Robert when they actually sit down face to face. So why I think this is absolutely critical when you consider an effective evaluation process. If you only have a conversation with your employees once a year, do you think that they're going to be intimidated by that process? Is it going to help them effectively improve their knowledge, skills, and abilities? Or is it going to have an opportunity to encourage collaboration and engagement? Because we know from studies that a more engaged workforce is a more collaborative workforce. A more collaborative and engaged workforce is more likely to be retained. You've already done all the work of making sure you have the right people in the right place at the right time. Now let's make sure that you retain them through an effective evaluation process. Check-ins are but one tool that we have in our arsenal for performance reviews. Now let's move down to the performance document section. In the performance document section, you see that Brian has a document called the 2018 Annual 360 Evaluation. You're going to be able to name your evaluation templates anything that you want. But in our instance, we named this template the 360 Evaluation because we have the ability within this solution to have 360 feedback. So perhaps the employee would like a peer to give feedback, or another manager, or perhaps a project manager with whom they worked on a particular, maybe an implementation project. You're going to be able to get a more well-rounded view of this employee's performance using the 360 feature. So let's go ahead and take a look at Brian's view of this particular template. I select the 2018 Annual Review. I see a section for Overall Summary. At the top, I also see feedback. Feedback is where employees, perhaps those that I've worked with on another project, these aren't even my 360 feedback. These are people that have just put what would be the equivalent of an electronic sticky note on my file. So that when my manager is evaluating me, or when I'm reviewing my own evaluation, I can see what others think about me. This lets me know if I'm on track or if there are specific things that I need to work on. I can take a look at performance goals. By the way, goals can optionally be included in the evaluation template if that's what you want. It doesn't have to be. This is completely configurable. So since I have chosen in this particular template to include performance goals, I see that all of my goals have been listed here accordingly. I can open up those goals. I can see all the attributes of them. So for example, I gave myself 4 stars, and I noted that I have created a customer satisfaction feedback tool that has been useful in identifying problem areas. I can see the goal details, such as the start date and the end date, and my level of completion in terms of percentage. I can also see a description of that goal and any success criteria that has been identified. So by including my goals within my performance document, I know not only the things that I need to work on, but I'm also going to be able to take a look at my competencies. So let's take a look at that as well. So here I see all of the competencies that are included in this particular evaluation. You may recognize these from our review of the profile of Brian Joseph. So this has been used as the template for his evaluation. Remember, profile management is the heart of the talent management lifecycle, and you're able to use profile management definitions throughout recruiting, evaluation, career and succession planning, and the talent review, which we'll get to shortly. So since we are on evaluation and you can see the competencies that have been identified, here I'm able to see the targeted level of proficiency that is required for that particular competency, such as building relationships, and the rating that I have given myself. You can also see for customer focus that what's needed is a level 4, and I have given myself a level 4. The employee is also able to give themselves a particular narrative or comment. That's optional, by the way. If you just want them to be able to rate themselves without giving a narrative commentary, you can absolutely do that as well. Feedback is an optional section. If you would like the employee to answer specific questions of which you, of course, can configure, you'll be able to do that as well. If this is a 360 feedback, and in this case it is, you would be able to include the ability to see participants. By the way, if you don't want the employee to be able to see what 360 participants have been nominated and what their feedback is, that information can remain anonymous, as in the case that you see here. Another great feature of the application is the ability to include our Oracle social network. And what is the benefit of that tool? If any of you happen to have a Facebook or a LinkedIn, and you collaborate online through social media with anyone that is in your group or within your secure network, what we have done within the Oracle HCM Cloud solution is provided Oracle Social Network. That allows employees to have collaboration and engagement contextualized within business transactions. So in this example, we're discussing performance evaluations, specifically Brian Joseph's 2018 Annual 360 Evaluation. It knows that once I select the call out for the Oracle Social Network, that this particular transaction is what is going to be discussed. That way, I don't have to go looking for this conversation. I simply need to go back to this evaluation template, and that conversation has been attached. That's going to be great for you to save time and encourage engagement and collaboration. So here Brian Joseph had a conversation. You can see at the top the individuals with whom he is discussing this. And of course, this can be secured. So no worries about a conversation being held with the entire organization. The employee is able to specifically select the members of that conversation. So Brian gave the particular feedback of, the new performance tool has significantly enhanced my ability to be more effective communicating my performance expectations to my leadership as well as my team. I need to confirm, we do not need to print the final evaluation, do we? So once Betty or Curtis receive this information, they're going to be able to answer him real time. So that's going to save you a lot of time and make communication much more effective throughout your organization. So now that Brian has successfully completed his evaluation and submitted it to his manager, what's next? Well, when he goes back to his performance page and he goes to the area of that particular evaluation template, he can actually select this arrow. That's going to let him know what business process step is next. And in this case, he sees that the manager evaluation of workers is next. So now what we need to do is take a look at Robert Jackman, Brian's manager, and see his feedback that he's going to give Brian for this review period. I am logged in as Robert Jackman, Brian's manager. I am on the My Team tab. This is because now I'm in the role as a manager and not just as an employee. Here I'm able to see all of the details that I can manage for my entire team. In this case, we're looking at Performance Overview. I'll select that now. On the Performance Overview page, at the top, I'm able to select the annual review period that I need to take action on. So in this case, I'm going to leave it at 2018. If I scroll down, I see all of the workers on my team and any of the review templates that are currently in progress for them. In this case, let's go to Brian Joseph. Brian Joseph has that 2018 annual review as well as that checkpoint discussion. Let's take a look at Brian. If I select Brian's name, I get more detail about Brian on this review page. I can see the check-in. The check-in document, you may recall, is where we began with Brian. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. If you recall again, Brian completed his questionnaire, and now I, Robert Jackman, I need to complete my feedback here as well. Let's just say I will provide you with additional resources, and I'll just save. I can also review the same information that Brian was able to review when he was completing the check-in document. Let's go ahead and go back. If I scroll down to the performance documents, I can pick up where Brian left off on the 2018 Annual 360 evaluation. So let's select that now. In a very similar layout to what Brian saw when he was completing his evaluation, I, as his manager, also see the same thing. The difference is I am now seeing Brian's feedback for himself as well. So as a manager, I can go ahead and give him an overall summary of what I think about his performance. I think you have performed exceptionally well in this review period. I can also take a look at his performance goals that I would like to give feedback for Brian on. So I go to the performance goals section. In here, I see all of the goals that Brian was able to look at as well. What's new for me, from my view as his manager, is I can see the feedback given to him by one of his participants. That is, the person that was requested to give feedback in our 360 review. If I select this number 1, I can see the individual was Elizabeth Mabry. This is his colleague. She gave him an overall score of 4 in achieving what was needed for that particular objective. By the way, when you create a 360 review template for another person to provide feedback for another employee, you can designate what sections they are able to provide you with feedback on. For example, perhaps you only want them to give feedback on competencies, or perhaps only on a particular goal. That is a goal that may have been related to a project that the two of them worked on together. That's a configuration, and it's absolutely up to you how you would like for that to be included in the evaluation template. So here you can see all of the feedback, not only that the participant provided, the feedback that the employee provided for themselves, and any feedback that I have already given to this employee as well. This is a fully comprehensive tool that allows you to encourage engagement and collaboration It allows you to capture feedback from others. It allows you to get a complete, well-rounded view of this employee's performance. Let's take a look at the competency section. So again, just like with the goal management section, I'm able to see the targeted level of proficiency, what was expected in terms of performance. I can see the manager's overall rating for this particular building relationships competency, what the worker provided themselves, and what the participant provided for them as well for their rating. I too have the optional feedback section. If I wanted to describe areas of strength or areas where improvement is needed and so on, I would be able to do that here as well. Do know that just like every other section that I've shared with you, this is completely configurable. The exact questions that you include in the feedback portion, they're completely up to you. Once this is done, you see the action steps that can be taken. This can be returned to the worker. We can also import other goals and competencies from third-party solutions. We can save and we can submit. Also keep in mind, we have that Oracle Social Network. Once we plug into the Oracle Social Network for this particular evaluation template, I am able to see the note that was sent to me by Brian. So Brian had a question, and I'm going to go ahead and answer him. You are absolutely correct. Let's hug a few trees. And I'll go ahead and post that. So now that information has been shared with Brian, I've given him all of my feedback, and I can go ahead and submit this evaluation. Once you have made sure that you have the right people in the right place at the right time through our recruiting solution, the next step was evaluating their performance effectively based upon the qualifications that you defined within profile management. That was the next step. What's next for us is career development. Let's take a look at that now.